This is an example of someone not social distancing.
You don't like church? What's going on, guys? How are we? How are we both, eh? Let's get it.
Okay, so it's a pleasure to be with Josh, Alex and Jasper, who are doing a documentary on how Newtown High is keeping its students safe during this really unfortunate, sad COVID stage.
So COVID-19 is a big deal. Everyone's been affected by it, especially schools, businesses and just everyone. So how's Newtown High School keeping up with keeping everyone as safe as possible? Well, here's Josh asking Mr. Tisdale that very question.
Hi, we're here today with Mr. Tisdale. We're going to be asking him some COVID-19 related questions. What is Newtown High School doing to be as COVID safe as possible?
I think the COVID safety was really important in the beginning. We had, obviously we had a lot of students at home, and then we were really socially distancing for those students who were here. We had, at the very, very beginning, we had about 30 grade 10 students. That got down to about 20, which then got down to about 10, and they were just sharing one classroom, but obviously distanced. As we've come back to school with all 600, it's been a little bit harder to be socially distanced, but that's been encouraged. But there's also been the hand sanitizer and those things put in around the school, which has helped.
Hey, Darnley, what do you think?
So one of the things that I think the most important thing that Newtown High is doing is to make sure that we are keeping the boys safe, not only with their hygiene and physically, but their mental health and their well-being. So we've been really proactive in getting in touch with parents while this was on, particularly during the time when students weren't at school, because that was really, really hard because boys were isolated on many different levels. And when we saw all of the boys come back to school, we made sure that the areas that the boys were working in were totally clean.
So I know that when we first came back to school, we had mandatory hand sanitisation whenever we went into a classroom. When we went to home group, when we left home group, there is extra hand sanitizer in the toilet area. There are hand sanitation stations around the hallways. I know that there have been added policies about not sharing pencils, not sharing books, things like that have been quite effective.
Well, overall, that's pretty tremendous. Let's see how happy all the teachers are with the overall COVID safeness of Newtown High School.
It's a bit of a tricky one. Like, I think we've all gone through that bit where things were really crazy and weird and people were super cautious of it all. But now people have relaxed a lot, which is good and bad. It's nice to be back a little bit to where we were, but with stuff going on in Victoria and people coming back here and having it, it's tricky. Like, you go around and you ask some of the students to stop pushing, shoving, hands off each other, and for the bulk of you guys, like, you get it and you're doing the right thing.
I think for us here in Tasmania, we're pretty lucky. I think if you were saying in Victoria, you would not feel as safe going to school as you do here. So I'm pretty happy with it, but once again, we're very lucky. No COVID cases at the moment, and none in community transmission, which has been a big plus.
So how is Newtown enforcing these safety guidelines? There's lots of signs around the school and there are lots of markings where people are meant to be socially distanced. But how do the students actually abide by these, and how is the school enforcing these rules? At the canteen, for instance, there's markings where people are meant to stand to be socially distanced, but when lunchtime actually rolls around, you can kind of see no one actually uses those. Now that's pretty epic.
So once again, I think it's a twofold sort of thing. At the beginning, when boys were sick, we were actively sending them home to make sure we're keeping everyone safe. But now, I still think if people are presenting with symptoms, they are encouraged to stay home. But as far as what we can actively do, we encourage not to, shake hands or touch each other or touch your face. Sanitise your hands regularly, but as far as anything else, there's not a hell of a lot we can do. Not very COVID safe there, Jasper.
Asking the boys to try as much as possible to physically distance from each other. And we have things in school, physical notices around the school, in the classroom. So there's all these visual clues for boys to follow. So, and we're learning. This is something that is changing every day. People are becoming more aware of what they can do to keep themselves personally safe and personally clean. Don't put Charlie before me, because you know what he sounds like.
Goodness me, mate, you're a fool. All right, I think that Newtown is doing the best job that it can. I think obviously you can never get 100% COVID safety in any environment, right? People are always going to be a little bit of a, recalcitrant in that regard. But I think that the teachers are doing a good job of enforcing it and making sure that the students understand the pertinence and the seriousness of the issue. I think that we've definitely made sure that all the students are aware and educated about the policies, particularly with the no sharing, and I think that has been a great success.
Right, fellow student, how would you say the head prefect of Newtown High School is handling COVID-19?
The head. Who's that again? Yeah, but what's his name? Is it like Zach or something? Oh, okay. Oh no, it's that like Pickering guy, right? Charlie Pickering, right? Or yeah, I haven't really met him.
Alright, anyways, let's see what everyone thinks about, like, what are the main differences they've noticed coming back to school after quarantine?
Well, basically, all the work has like no consequence now, which is nice. All the teachers are like, if you didn't do this, that's fine, because COVID, which, it's good because I didn't get a lot of work done. But yeah, no, apart from that, there hasn't been a huge lot of change. It was nice to get back after quarantine, but I don't know, I didn't notice anything really.
I think the main difference or the thing was having to learn online. That was a massive difference for those who weren't regularly coming to school. They had to learn online, so that was a really big one. It's sort of a bit more self-guided.
All right, so probably one of the biggest things that I've noticed, particularly as head prefect, is that we haven't been able to do the typical gatherings and events as a school. Like, we haven't necessarily been able to hold senior and junior assemblies. We haven't been able to do activities with Ogilvy, for example. We haven't been able to go to the Derwent Entertainment Centre and HPE classes, at least for a long time. We're starting to get those things back now. I think that a lot of the more important and the more high-level things that sort of unify the school together have been missing, and I think that's why it's so good that we've been able to come back this term and sort of get that back.
Some of our students, and of course I really haven't mentioned our teachers, have been really more aware, sometimes somewhat anxious about the future and COVID. So we've offered a lot of support to anyone at school that needs any sort of counselling or any help. We've got our amazing support staff, so people can go and talk to them as well. So that's what we've done to support people.
Alright, well, in conclusion, it looks like Newtown is doing actually quite well at keeping its students COVID safe. As Charlie said, you can never have an environment 100% COVID safe, but I think with the resources Newtown has, it's handling the situation actually quite well.